I am not a religious person. I want you to understand that before anything else. I grew up in a household where church was something other families did, where prayer was something you saw in movies, where the Bible sat on a shelf between a cookbook and an old dictionary, never opened, never needed. I say all of this because what I'm about to tell you only makes sense if you know that I had absolutely no reason to believe. And yet, 3 years of terror ended with 6 words. 6 words from a book I had never once read. I don't know what was living in my apartment. I don't know why it chose me, but I know exactly what made it leave. And I will never, not for the rest of my life, forget it. I moved into the apartment in September. 3rd floor, corner unit, old building, 1960s construction. The rent was cheap. The neighborhood was quiet. I was 26, working remotely, living alone for the first time. It felt like freedom. The first thing I noticed was the cold spot. Not the whole apartment, just one corner. The far left corner of the living room. No vent, no window nearby, just cold. I bought a space heater, pointed it directly at that corner. It didn't help. The second thing I noticed was the feeling of being watched. Not paranoia. I want to be clear about that. This was different. This was specific. It always came from the same direction, that corner. I started keeping the lamp on at night. I told myself it was a habit. I told myself I just liked the light. By November, I had stopped going near that corner entirely. December was when it escalated. I started waking up at 3 a.m. Not gradually, not the slow drift into consciousness. Snapping awake, eyes open, heart already pounding. Every single night. 3:07 a.m. I know the exact time because I checked my phone every time, hoping the number would be different. It never was. And every time I woke, the cold was there. Not just in the corner anymore. Beside the bed. I could feel it like a presence. Like something standing very close. Close enough that if it breathed, I would feel it on my face. I bought cameras, set them up in the living room and hallway. The footage showed nothing. But 3 times, on 3 separate nights, the camera in the living room turned off, by itself, at 3:07 a.m., and turned back on at 3:08, 1 minute, every time. I don't know what happened in that 1 minute. I don't want to know. By February, I had lost 11 pounds. I wasn't sleeping more than 3 hours a night. My friendships were disappearing. I went to a doctor. Sleep disorder, he said. Anxiety, he said. I filled the prescription. I took the pills. The thing in the corner watched me swallow them. I could feel it. In March, my grandmother passed away. She was 81. She had lived alone for 20 years after my grandfather died. Sharp until the very end. Stubborn. Faithful. She went to church every single Sunday for 60 years without missing once. When we cleared out her house, I took one thing, her Bible. Not for religious reasons, I want to be honest about that. I took it because it smelled like her house, like old paper and lavender. It made me feel less alone. I put it on my nightstand. That night, for the first time in 5 months, I woke up at 3:07 a.m. and the cold was gone. I lay there in the dark, completely still, waiting for it. It didn't come. I thought it was coincidence. The next night, same thing. Woke at 3:07. Reached out my hand toward the side of the bed. Warm. I picked up my grandmother's Bible. I hadn't opened it since I was a child, if ever. I didn't know where to start, so I just let it fall open. It opened to Psalm 23. I had heard of it before. Everyone has, but I had never actually read it. I read it quietly alone in the dark. And when I reached the 4th verse, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Something happened in the room. I don't have a scientific explanation for it. The air shifted, like pressure releasing. like a door opening somewhere far away. And then, nothing. Just silence, and warmth, and the smell of old paper and lavender. It came back. 4 days later, 3:07 a.m. The cold, harder than before, right beside the bed. And for the first time, I heard something. Not a voice exactly. More like the idea of a sound. Like something communicating through pressure instead of air. It felt like, leave the book alone. I sat up in bed. I reached for the Bible. My hands were shaking. I am not ashamed to tell you that. I found Psalm 23 again, and I read it out loud. Not loudly, not dramatically, just steadily, like my grandmother might have, like someone who believed every single word. I shall not want. The cold intensified. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Something in the corner of the room, the far left corner, made a sound I cannot describe, not with any word I know. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And then I said the 6 words. The 6 words that ended 3 years of terror. For you are with me. The room went completely still. Not the stillness of something hiding. Not the stillness of something waiting. The stillness of something gone. I sat there until sunrise, Bible open in my lap, Psalm 23 in front of me. I read it 17 more times before the sun came up. Not out of fear, out of gratitude. That was 19 months ago. The cold corner is just a corner now. The cameras stay off, because there's nothing left to watch for. I sleep through the night. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm not here to preach. I'm a person who didn't believe in anything, who spent 3 years sharing their home with something that fed on that emptiness. And I'm a person who picked up a book they didn't understand, read 6 words they hadn't earned, and watched something ancient and dark leave. My grandmother's Bible sits on my nightstand still, every night. I don't always read it. Sometimes I just touch the cover, and remember that the valley of the shadow of death has an exit. You just have to know the words.